Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's, what's going on here? Oh, you have to laugh. It's 11:09 a.m. on Wednesday, the 21st of January 2026. And it's very hot. It's a very hot day. I had a quick look at the weather earlier this morning, and it's going to get very, very hot from Sunday on. We're going to reach up to 38 degrees. It's going to creep up slowly from 34, and then it's going to slam dunk us after 4 days of 34 to 38. And I'm not looking forward to that. I don't think anyone in Australia or Brisbane specifically, where we're getting this weather, is looking forward to that, people of Earth. But what can I say? We're here, we're trying not to be square, and we're living, as the Spanish or the Latin Americans say, la vida loca. Trying to stay sane in the membrane while maintaining equilibrium. This wondrous swirling blue marble that we find ourselves still resident upon, one way or the other. So I'm sneaking in a quick video, a bit of a sneaky one. You know, you understand I can be a little bit sneaky. Not really, just conservatorship of time. Because I have a debrief this afternoon, and so I figured I've got about an hour and a half less if I keep rambling on before I have to, rush the birdies back inside and drive to my worthy, wonderful psychiatrist for my 2 weekly debrief sessions I have with him. Just wait for the garbo to go. So, and I take my 2 weekly debrief sessions very seriously, because it's a serious business. Being naked mentally in front of someone you can trust. It's probably the most intimacy most people will ever have. I mean, excuse me, I have to cough it out. That was psychosomatic, but you know what I mean. Being stripped bare, your true, naked, psychological self in front of someone who's a professional, as opposed to, people have had entire marriages where they couldn't even be themselves or realise who they really were because they were suppressed, oppressed, depressed and compressed. And yes, including in my own one and only early marriage as a young woman. So, to be naked spiritually and emotionally and mentally in front of an audience, which I seem to do with my YouTube channel quite courageously, I might add, it is a form of intimacy. It's an energy exchange. It's a gifting of your own self, and a kind of a gnosis, and also a processing of your thoughts and emotions, and evolution of consciousness as you grow more and more, and more you have pattern recognition as well, when you realize that you're repeating patterns, and which can be a bit concerning actually, given that I've been working so hard in therapy for the last 15 years with this doctor, but in real terms 30 years, to shift those blocks of oppression, suppression, depression, poverty, inability to succeed, finding healthy, constructive, supportive love partnerships, and or friendships, and or business relationships. It's something at 60 and a half I'm still struggling with. Every time I think I'm gonna pop up and come up for air and kind of achieve, I have another heartache with some malevolent fucking demonic imp being vicious. So that's the block. The block is to get rid of that albatross, and I don't know how. I don't know how I'm going to achieve that. I just have to work within the parameters that I have, knowing fully not cognizant that I'm in this life alone, and I always have been, probably always will be, and just enjoying the nice things that happen along the way when, you know, you meet kind people who, you know, seem to only be able to manifest that kindness for short bursts of time before it runs into a superficial cesspits of shit, and that's on them, not me. I came in, as I keep saying, with good intentions, clean and clear. But that was another devastation, seeing that all roll out. And you know, we've got Australia Day coming up, so I hope the terrorists behave on Australia Day. Hope everyone bloody behaves on Australia Day. I don't actually like it that much because it is celebrating the invasion and the colonialisation of an entire people who were not equipped to cope with the machinery of hate that was British warfare and torture and rape and starvation, even at one point pushing people off a cliff in Tasmania. So I don't really celebrate it. It's nothing to fucking celebrate. But you know, for most Aussies it's a holiday and chance for a piss up and listen to some live bands and get lured into a false sense of belonging. I mean, you have to laugh, otherwise you'd cry, wouldn't you? And Mama T doesn't cry over very much anymore. Seen too much, lived through too much, know too much. It all becomes a bit of a piss take. Every time someone tries to destroy me, I just sit back and, you know, grieve for a while, probably be in shock for some time, especially when it came out of left field. But then I laugh. I laugh and I laugh and I laugh, because people of Earth, laughter is the best revenge of all. Just living your best life and not letting people who are ignorant or hateful or so ugly to drag you down to their level. Oh, the crows are here, 2 crows, drinking and thinking about having a swim. They know how to live their best lives. Good boys. Very good. You go and have a swim, my darlings? Yes. Oh, he's drinking, so thirsty. Really is hot, isn't it, boys? I might go and get the spritzer, and I was about to say I'll put some chicken out for them. Got some little scraps of chicken. But I forgot to bring the spritz. One moment, got to spritz my boys. It's hot out here. Here you go, boys. Oops, I dropped it. There's your chicken. Yes, I knew you'd like that. Happy birdie now. Happy birdie boys now. Oh, you're feeding each other. You're good husband, aren't you? What I've done here, boys, I can't find that spritzer. Right, I'm back. Let's settle down and continue reading the story and forget about all the other rubbish. At the end of the day, it's all fucking bollocks, isn't it? All of it, all of it. Life's too good to waste on stupidity, especially when it wasn't even of your own making. When it's of your own making, you've got to clean up on aisle 5, but by the gods. Right, my teeth are all hurting. I'm going to have to go to the fucking dentist. I'm dreading it. They never do anything with me. They just send me home without treating me. And I'm sure it's because of my unvaccinated status, people of Earth. They really are venal. But anyway, I got a phone call from my worthy and wonderful urologist doing a follow-up checking on me. And I thought that was very kind. And I said, thank you for keeping me on the program and on the books and keeping an eye on me, and I'll be in touch should things get markedly worse, with my bladder. But so far I'm travelling okay these days. Had a bit of a rough patch for a few days last week, but then it balanced out again. And I'm doing lots of affirmations, telling myself that I'm healthy and other things that I want from life, people of Earth. Trying to reprogram the tape and shuck off that fucking awful albatross I've been carrying since I was a very small little girl, and trying to build my beautiful life. And how does that happen? Well, one day at a time, one breath at a time, people of Earth. So on the subject of breathing, let's carry on with chapter 41. Oh, he's feeding. Must be, is it a mate or is it a younger bird? Doesn't look younger. He's feeding him from his beak into her beak. It's very romantic, my darling. Very romantic. Right. Valerius rode in the memory of a dream become a nightmare. He rode a white-splashed black horse at speed from a battlefield, but it was Grania who clung on behind him, not Braica. Not happy with how my hair looks. It's a bit limp from the heat. That's better. I'm easily distracted these days. It's not like me. His sister was on the race-bred grey filly, held on by a wrap of her own cloak that bound her and kept her from falling. Her family surrounded her, an honour guard of blood and spirit sworn to shield her with their lives. Okunamar rode on one side with stones slung across his saddle. In the midst of battle, as they shouted orders for the rear guard, he had stopped to pick up the hound his mother loved. Ulla followed him, with Hawk and Sigfa on the sword side. Oh, hello. Hello, sweet bird. You've come to say hello, little Indian myna there. Oh, you're so pretty. You're so pretty. You didn't get any chicken because the crows took it all? Oh, that's terrible. I know. I'm sorry. You got to be quick. You got to be quick at sacred space. Right, where was I? Ulla followed him with Hawk and Sigfa on the sword side. Ere Mad Balos and Theophilus came, bunched together behind. They galloped fast, but not fast enough to outrun the blood that Brayaca was losing, nor, possibly, the half-wing of tiring cavalry who followed, led by Sabinius, who had been standard-bearer even in Valerius's time, and, like Civilis, should have died long since. He drove his men like one possessed, screaming Corvus's name. Ardocos was there to stop him, standing in a circle drawn in the dirt, oath sworn to remain there until death forced him out, to take as many of the enemy with him as he could, knowing those who died on either side would serve as worthy companions in the long trek through the other forests to the welcome of the she-bear, in whose care they might rest and hunt and fight and rest again, forever blessed. He was not alone. You want to see what he's doing? He's right behind my shoulder. He's a happy crow now. You a happy crow? Yes, Mama T. He was not alone. 50 of his own warriors, old, scarred men and women who had lived 2 decades in the care of the she-bear, drew their own circles in the earth and made the bear line on either side of Ardocos. Behind them, in a second row, stood Skeros and the younger warriors who had followed Kunomar. You had a special treat today getting chicken, haven't you? Mama hasn't had chicken for you for quite some weeks. Yes. Happy birdies now. Happy birdies. Oh. He put his feet on the edge of the little plastic swimming pool thing I use as a swimming pool, and he slipped and he skidded into it. He just looked at me like this. He's surprised. Oh, they're so happy. It's good. Are you a happy boy too, Kermie? You should copy what the crows do and bath in your bath water. Yes, instead of being a smelly bird, a stinky birdie. He says, Mama, I don't want to have baths. Somehow it seems uncivilized. One other was there, newly come to their ranks, seeing them make their stand, and only barely understanding. Knife had swung off his horse and joined them, swearing his soul to the bear as had only ever been done twice before on the field of battle, and now a third time. They were of the bear, and the bear was in them, and Valerius had no doubt they would sell their lives dearly, but that the cavalry would still overwhelm them. To buy more time than they alone could manage, Longinus drew together the horse warriors of Mona to stand on either side of this line of living shields. Thus was Valerius's oath to him broken. To stay now in the chaos of the retreat was to die. It's bad that all my teeth are singing. I might go and buy some vitamin C and have some high potency vitamin C. Slam myself with that. I've been eating fairly healthy, but sometimes I think it's a vitamin deficiency when my teeth play up. Oh, you know what I've been doing wrong? I ran out of vitamin D. Maybe that's what's happening. It sort of actually helps your teeth a fair bit, I've noticed. Right, I have to remind myself to buy vitamin D today. I've only been off it for a week and already I can feel all the teeth stinging, and I call it singing, but it's really stinging, and what have you. What you doing, Crazy Crow? You sitting over my shoulder to show appreciation for the food and the swim. You're a very good bird. You're a very good bird. Can you bring back my lost sterling silver ring that I lost? Because I have a feeling it's in one of your nests. Just randomly disappear. Things don't just randomly disappear, people. Either the fairies took it or the crows have it in their nest. It's possible that it slipped off my fingers somewhere else though, and it's gone forever. Just have to make another one, won't I? It's annoying. Right. They had both known that in the frantic moments of parting, to stay in the chaos of the retreat was to die. Right. I will wait for you in the God's care, Longinus had said, however long it takes. Don't forget me when you meet the others who will be awaiting you. Valerius had clasped him close and kissed him. I won't forget. Beyond life there are no limits to love. I will come to you, and there will be time then for all that has never been said. It would be good to hear that. They had parted then, and not too soon. Hugh had stayed to help Longinus, and Maeve and all the horse warriors of Mona and of the Iceni, and there had been no time for a proper parting from any of them. The trumpets were calling, and those who remained faced more than the remnants of the Quinta Gallorum. The last cohorts of the 20th were coming from where they had waited through all the long day for their moment of triumph. What you doing, little snooks? She says, I'm waiting for my moment of triumph too, Mama T. You're already triumphant, little bird. You've got a bigger cage and you've got Kermie sharing your space and your friends now. How much more triumphant can you get? Kermie decides to try and beat him up. All right, maybe a little bit more triumphant. Don't let him bully you. Hold your ground, little one. Don't cede, don't quit, don't yield to the bullies. Mama T has spoken. Had a lifetime of it, so I get really pissed off about bullies. Trust me on that one. Right. The battlefield was a slaughterhouse, and the refugees in their wagons were as sheep awaiting the cull. Kermie, you do that again, you'll go in a separate cage. Yes, I'm watching you. I'm watching you being a naughty bird. You should see him going like this, looking at me. Yes, I know what you're doing. Where were we? The refugees in their wagons were as sheep awaiting the cull. Between and beyond, warriors stayed to fight or ran as their instincts drove them, whichever they chose. Most of them died. There was room for hope that Ardokos's bears and the horse warriors who fought under Longinus's command were better led and better trained, and so might live, but numbers did not tell in their favour. They were giving their lives so that the Boadicea's honour guard might live. It mattered to remember that. Valerius ran his hand along the black coat, and it came back wet with sweat and other men's blood, as it had in all the repetitions of his dream. His horse jumped a log. A long-practiced part of him waited to fall off as they landed, and did not. Ermed came up alongside. Braiaca's blood stained her tunic. Clotted streaks of it painted her face. She looked more fearsome than the she-bear had ever done. Over the thunder, I'm not liking this blouse, it's too high in the neck and I'm sweating, it's torture. Let's just yank it down a bit. Over the thunder of running horses, she said to Valerius, in the dream of your childhood, your left hand was cut off at the wrist. If you have altered that much with changing paths of your life, we can be grateful. He shouted back, I would rather lose a hand than lose Braiaca. We're not given that choice. We can't change what has happened. Only keep Grania safe and Sigva and the child she will bear. Do you know of anywhere we can go so that Braiaca can be quiet at the end? A god's space would be good, if there are any in the mountains that will hold us. Thus did Ermed of Nemain give Valerius of Nemain and Mithras the key to all that was of the other part of him. He looked for a peak he knew and measured the distance to it. If we ride hard, there's a cave that I know of, given in recent years to Mithras, but other gods were there first. It's near the fortress of the 20th, but that's empty. Paulinus pulled every last man and servant out for the attack on Mona. Can you get us there in time, do you think? Yes. His horse was fresher than any of those who might follow, and it had been trained by Civilis, who was one of the greatest horsemen of his age. Valerius set his courage and his mount to the first of the slopes that led to the mountain, and heard the others follow him. They were 9, and one of them was dying, and they left behind a battle whose loss spelled the ending of a nation. He's drinking out of his bath water. It's okay because it's fresh water for drinking, but I want him to bath in it, not drink it. Crazy bird. I guess it's getting him used to that bowl though, if he's drinking out of it. You're so funny, Kermie. You're such a funny boy. And you too, Bo. Very funny birdie boys. The rider walked his horse out of the trees near dusk as they made the foot of the mountain. Valerius swung his blade at the misted shape, and then drew it back again, hissing through his teeth. "You're late," he said. "The battle's over." "If the battle were what mattered most, then I would indeed be late," said his father, Luain MacCalluma, elder of Mona. He moved his mare alongside the white-legged colt, so they rode head to head up the track. "Are you going to the cave of the bull god?" "Unless you have something better." "Not at all." "Will you come?" It surprised Valerius how much he wanted that. "I think not. You can do all that is needed. I'll wait here and guide you to Mona after. The island is safe for now, and when it is no longer so, we have a welcome in Hibernia for everyone who survives the battle. There will be more than you fear and less than you hope." Valerius did not have the heart to think of more dead. "Will Rome make Mona unsafe?" he asked. "Yes, and eventually Hibernia too, but not in our lives or our children or our children's children. And there will be time before that to do what is needed so that the line may survive while the land is in thrall to the descendants of Rome." Go now. Breaca needs you more than a future that may never happen. They came to Mithras's cave at dusk, exhausted and riding spent horses, and found the place abandoned to the gods of stone and water. The waterfall outside with its spreading hazels was thin with a summer's lack of rain. A winter's rockfall had partly obscured the entrance. A jar of honey had been stuffed into a crevasse, and someone had offered a child's toy sword, not yet rusted. Otherwise, Valerius could see no sign that anyone had been up since he had so rashly removed the false trappings of the god. He was too tired to think. He let the colt slow to a halt and dropped to the ground on legs that would barely hold him. The grey race filly slowed with him. Breaca lay along its neck, pliant as a child in sleep. "Is she still alive?" that Eärmid had to ask made the question more urgent. "Yes." He left them and used his hands to scoop aside the worst of the rubble from the entrance. All the way up the mountain he had thought of the tight, snaking passage and the last difficult drop into the cave. Sigvar, Kunomar and Hawk had joined him by then, clearing stones. Theophilus filled waterskins from the river. Balos and Eärmid held Grania safe between them and kept stone holding to the last threads of life. Valerius said, "The way in is hard even when you're awake and whole. We'll need light inside. I'll go in first and light a fire and come back. He lit more than a fire. In their haste to abandon their shrine, the officiates of the bull god had left behind reed torches hung on iron wall brackets, and a handful of honey tallow candles, and a miniature brazier, still heavy with old charcoal, and a cache of tinder lodged beneath. He lit both from the ember pot Eärmid had given him, and crouched, breathing life into the flame, until the light loosed its rippling incandescent magic across the god's lake at one side of the cave, and lit to brilliance the eternal shining wetness of the walls and ceiling that arched above. Once he had been blinded by the magnificence of the god's fire laid across water in the utter darkness of the cave. Now he stood surrounded by jewelled light, and his heart was a black cavern filled with too much fear to acknowledge beauty or remember awe. From the numbness of utter loss, he asked the favour of both his gods to remain in this place that had been most recently given only to one of them. Mithras did not walk to him across the water, with his hound at his heels as he had once done. But Valerius allowed himself to feel a sense of welcome and carried it to those waiting outside. The way in was hard and harder with Brayaca, who was cool by then and slippery with her own sweat. They carried her to the lake's edge where the brazier had settled to glowing coals and made the water a sheet of lost blood. The blushing scarlet gave her colour, so that she looked almost well, as if she slept in the wake of battle and could rise again and fight again and this time win. So that she might be warm and comfortable, they made a bed of folded cloaks and a pillow from the sheepskin saddle pad from Gronya's pony. Excuse me. They set stone alongside, and he had life enough left for his warmth to reach her. Eärmid sat by her head, Abelos by her feet. Valerius held one side and Sigfa the other. Agronia sat near the brazier, silent and white. Hawk kept vigil near the entrance and left after a while to set signs for Cunimar and Ardokos, in case they should survive and should track them this far. He came back and nothing had changed but that more blood had seeped from the wound in Brayaca's side, staining the pale blue of her cloak. He took his place again in silence. Then there was nothing to do but wait. Agronia, The voice was a sigh on the wind, although it was easy to hear her mother within it. And no one else heard it, or they had the sense to know it, a product of the tumbling air within the cave. Or they were simply too focused now on the death that was coming. Gráinne did not know how to call the gods as they were needed. She had watched Eirmed from the beginning. The tall dreamer had called Nemain so close that she and the god were one. And still she was beyond weeping. Belus was watching Briga as if he alone might keep her at bay. Just got a waft of what smells like donuts or waffles. It's quite yummy. Valerius had not yet called his gods, as if to do so in this place was sacrilege, or an admission of defeat. Pancakes, maybe? Hawk had called on no one, only asked whosoever might listen for a miracle, and did not expect it given. I'm not hungry, I had a good feed before I started this video. But it's wafting through, I think it's my neighbour's diagonal coming on the breeze. The Gráinne, sharper now and louder. No one else moved. Gráinne touched the back of her hand to the brazier to make sure she was awake. The burn made her swear. The blister began to swell even as she sucked it. Without asking permission of those who sat with her mother, she took up one of the flickering beeswax candles and went to find the voice. She sought darkness away from the flowing blood of the brazier. At the back of the cave was a torn gap around an altar carved from the living rock. The wind did not settle there. She turned away from it towards the blank wall and found that her candle sent light into a sucking space from which no reflection came back. The entrance to the inner cave, when she found it, was narrow and reached to the roof. She passed through it sideways and stood in a blackness so profound she might have lost her sight and become blind as Belus, except that she could see the uncertain light of the candle, and so herself. The wind snuffed the candle out. She felt a pressure and a testing, and was not unwelcome. Gráinne, come. It was a kind wind, or she chose to believe it so. She walked forward with her hands stretched out. Presently she felt a wall, and turned to her left and walked with her shoulder against it, so that when it bent again the other way as the waves of a snake, she was able to follow slowly in case the ground fell away. She saw the light then, a grey feathering in the absolute black. As dawn that comes soon after midnight, her eyes feasted on it, taking in the fine ridges in the rock and the wear on the floor as from the passing of many thousand feet over many hundreds of generations. She followed the grey round. She She followed the grey round another sinuous curve and stopped. The kind wind smoothed her face. The grey rock was steady behind her. Ahead, a vent in the towering roof let in the late evening light. To either side of that vent, down the steep, arched angles of the roof, the rock was not grey, but the colour of late winter ice, streaked and cracked and imperfect, but still sharp-edged as knife blades, so that the million facets took the faint light and bounced it forward and back and out and down, and made of the grey a rainbow of monochrome shades. There was light enough to see the extent of the new chamber, to walk across it and find the place where a fire, or many fires, had once scorched the plain stone of the floor and sent smoke to streak the flawed brilliance of the roof, to scramble up on a rock bench and find the place where the wall folded in on itself to make a bed, and so to find the remains of the body that had been left to lie there so long ago that the flesh had melted and the skin had dried onto the bones, and the talk that had once lain so cleanly round the throat had fallen askew and was twisting the neck, and the great blade that had kept guard for so long had dipped down between the arched bones of the pelvis. On a day of so much grief, that seemed too much. She reached for the end loops of the talk to straighten the thing and let the dead lie in better order. Gronya. The voice was very clearly not the wind. She turned fast as if caught in some wrongdoing and stopped again for a second time, frozen. Her mother was there. The world broke apart and was remade. Perfect. Gronya sagged against the stone. Relief flooded over her in scalding waves that left her damp and shivering with the slick skin and hair that pricked on her scalp. "You're better," she said. Her voice came out as a whisper. Her mother opened her arms and Gronya came to them, and it was as it had been before the procurator came with his veterans and his endless harm. Here was a haven of warmth and comfort and strength, and the heartbeat of a warrior who could take on Rome and beat the legions back into the ocean and free the land forever for the gods and the people. Before all of that, she was Breyaka, daughter of one Gronya who was dead, mother to this Gronya who was so very alive. She sat now near the place where the fire had been and seemed a little tired. but not more than anyone who has spent all day in battle and has not slept for 2 nights before. She pressed her lips to Gronya's head and blew a long lungful of breath so that the perfect heat of it passed down through her crown to the soles of her feet, shivering. Gronya reached up and took a handful of fox red hair that was still rough with dried sweat. She combed it gently with her fingers. Her mother said, "Did you find the torque, the one in the stone chamber?" "Yes, I didn't move it though. I was going to, but I didn't." "You should. It's yours. You can take it now. But don't argue now, child. There isn't time." Gronya looked up. The elder grandmother was there, brisk and sharp as she had ever been. Her eyes gleamed like a hawk's in a strange light. She smiled, which was never a comfortable thing. "Take the torque. You'll need it. The other can be left here after." The other? There was only one torque, which was her mother's. Gronya looked at the elder grandmother, who smiled as if she had done something particularly clever, and nodded. And so she knew, and the world was not perfect, but broken beyond all hope. She fell back against the wall and reached for her mother, who was not truly there. "I'm not ready," she whispered. "I'm too young. The elder grandmother came to you like this on your long nights after she was dead. I'm not old enough for that. You can't leave me. You can't." "I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. There's too much to do, but I can't stay. All I can do is leave you a gift, and the torque is it. Will you take it now while I'm here?" "What about yours and the blade lying on the bones in the stone cleft?" "The blade in the stone is for Hawk to have in exchange for Iburovik's blade, which must be left here with me. You do understand that? I am to lie here in the place of the ancestors with the bear blade and the torque of the Iceni. Tell Ermed. She'll know what to do." "How can you leave her? She loves you." "Unfair, light of my soul. Unfair." Her mother leaned over and kissed her. The breath did not reach to her scalp, still less to her feet. She sounded sad, but not bereft, as she should have done. "I will wait for her, as we all do, on the river's far bank. She knows that too. I will wait for you also, and for your children, and your children's children. I will be their strength to the ends of the earth and the four winds. Tell them that as they are growing, so that they might always remember But for now, I must go. Will you take up the torque, please? I would see you have it before I leave." I think it's the king parrots that are here. Or is it Laura Keats? Can't quite see them. If Grania could have slowed time by standing with the talk untaken, she would have stood for the rest of her life and beyond. Already others were gathering. The ancestor dreamer was there, and Macha, who had sent Valerius to her in the dream, and her grandfather, whose blade she had touched, and so had brought ruin to her mother, and a man she did not know, with blazing yellow hair and the sign of the sun-hound on his signet ring. When she saw Dubornos standing near with the crows of Briga on either side, she knew she could not wait longer. The ancestor's talk was narrower than her mother's, and had white gold in the 9-wired weaving alongside the rich Silurian red. It settled on her own neck as if moulded for it, with the open end pieces hanging solidly over her collarbones. She took her hands away and waited for the world to become a void as it had when she wore her mother's talk. Nothing happened. She was disappointed and surprised. Then she felt the light press of her mother's lips, and the breath reached again through her crown to her toes. The light of the cave became richer and the ghosts within it more solid. The elder grandmother tipped her head to one side and eyed her critically. A lot of learning still unlearned for one so gifted. Do not begin to think you have the answers. If you ever do, hubris will kill you. She wanted to say she would not care what killed her if she could join her mother, but Brayaka was there, kneeling in front, taking the silver feather from her own neck and fastening it to Grania's, looped across the 2 end rings so that it balanced between. The feather is my gift alone, not from the lineage, or the gods, or the past. And tell Ermid I said so, she'll make it happen. Brayaka stepped back. The other ghosts had gone, except Dubornos, who waited, and the shade of a god of all gods that waited with him. You should go back now, she said. You are all of the future and all of the past. Live for that and never forget that I love you. And was gone. We got time to read the epilogue? Yes, I think so. Epilogue. Of all those who could have come, it was Valerius who followed her to the river's edge. She was surprised about that. Ermed is tending Longinus, he said, by way of explanation. Maeve and Hugh found him lying on the field and brought him as they fled. He may follow you yet, but not if we can hold him with us a while longer. He smiled the wry, familiar smile. It would be very hard to lose you both in the same battle. I am not lost. No, I have walked with the dead long enough to know that. But I will grieve none the less, and wake and know the pain of each day without you. The world is made lesser by your passing. You can make it better if you try. We can't defeat Rome. The spirit of the war host is broken. There is no Boadicea now to hold it together, and will not be for years and generations. We were privileged to see the last of the daylight. Now we are at dusk, in a time of mourning, the onset of winter before the next spring. Night follows day, and there is cold and grief in the darkness. But there will be dawn again, when Rome is gone, and all that follows from it. I won't be alive then, or our children, or our children's children. No, but you can set the seeds for what can grow when the night lifts and the sunrise brings hope. The gods know nothing of time. Now they will be here when those who need them come again, but to reach them again, the children must know what they have been and what they can be. That is the task for now, to make sure the seed lies ready for the daylight. The river lay broad in front of her, and the stepping stones, and the welcome on the far bank. She saw Dubornos there, and the crows that would guard her passage over. Ban, I must go. He did not flinch at the name. She said, call your daughter Ban if you would not keep the name to yourself. It is as good for a girl and a woman as a boy and a man. She leaned in and kissed him and said his other name. For the first time, it did not stick in her throat. Valerius, you must go back and find what it is to live with both of your souls in balance, holding the two gods within you. That is the gift of all you have been. I know. He was weeping silently. His tears fed the river and made it fast and beautiful and safe, that kept the lands of life separate from the lands of the dead. She felt the brush of his caress as he left her, and returned it. The river called her, and the land beyond it. Brayaka. The voice was one she knew and had known and would always know. She turned, and Ermed was there at the end, a singular presence, indistinguishable now from Nemain, as she herself was indistinguishable from Briga, who had guided her life. They met in a place where time had no meaning. she said, "I will wait for you. I always have, through all the lifetimes." Eremed's smile was the radiance of the moon. Sometimes I have waited for you and will do it again. I'll be there when you call me. They parted in no time, and she stepped out across the first stone. Her mother was there, and her father, and Stone came, young again and joyful, and brought Hail, the hound she had loved first, and an old grey battle mare, and she saw, finally, what she had not seen when Dubornos stepped off the last stone, that the land beyond was the land of her heart, open, untouched, unsullied by human endeavour, and that the gods waited there, those she had followed and those she had not, offering the gift of their care equally. I'll continue with the author's note only because it looks interesting. I don't usually continue when I finish a book, but let's see what she has to say, shall we, people of Earth? There is very little left to say now at the end. This final part of the Boadicea's story is the simplest and the best known. It is almost the only episode of early British history with corroborative archaeological evidence. Colchester, Chelmsford, London, St Albans, and a host of smaller towns did all burn to the ground sometime in the 1st century AD. The detail of how and why and what order comes from Tacitus and is as plausible as the rest of his writing, which is to say, it seems likely that the base facts are correct if one allows for the hyperbole of the victor's side. I have deviated from the customary accepted reading of his account in a few places. Most notably, I have the 9th Legion march straight down Pedar's Way in their effort to relieve Colchester. There seems reasonable evidence that the Wash did not extend as far inland as it does now, and this was therefore by far the most direct route. Beyond that, I have the Boadicea's forces divide to assault Ludunum and Verulamium, London and St Albans, rather than looping back on themselves, simply because it seems to make a geographical sense. More controversially, I have set the final battle rather further west than is the currently accepted location of Manchetta near, or Manchetta near Leicester. That's me choking because I can't stand when I don't know how to pronounce something. Of all the myths and suppositions surrounding the Boadicea, it would seem to me highly unlikely that tens of thousands of warriors did meet 10,000 legionaries in the particular valley the historians have identified. If they had, the metal detectors would have recovered at least a belt buckle or a harness mount by now. Finally, I have given the Boadicea an ending in war as befitted her spirit. Neither the poison of Tacitus, the standard means by which a good Roman matron might take her life, nor the illness of Dio Cassius were worthy of her, nor did they seem particularly plausible. The other characters are largely fictional, although the two Roman commanders bear mention. Petilius Cerialis, the impetuous legate of the 9th Legion, did apparently survive an almost total annihilation of his forces and escaped with his standards and a small company of his cavalry to take refuge in his fortress. He later became governor of Britannia, which suggests his action was not condemned in Rome. Suetonius Paulinus's actions as governor are more or less as described. He was in the process of assaulting Mona when he heard news of the revolt. He took ships south and rode inland to view the situation in London, decided it was hopeless, and rode away again, leaving the population to face the Boadicean war host undefended. In the wake of the revolt, he scoured the land in apparent vengeance. Nero finally recalled him on the grounds that he was treating the natives too harshly and installed a more moderate governor, Turpilianus, who dealt with the remaining tribal leaders by more diplomatic methods, or as Tacitus would have it, veiled his tame inaction under the honourable name of peace. On the native side, Dubornos's fictional life and death are based on the discovery in a bog of the corpse of a young man described as a Druid prince. He had undergone the threefold death of a blow to the head, strangulation by a cord, and drowning in the peat bog. He was naked, but for a band of fox fur round his upper arm. He was well fed and fit, and had the remains of a burned bannock in his stomach. All of these have led archaeologists to assume that he was a sacrifice to the gods of the place and time. Our culture tends to deride that, but it has always seemed to me that the willing gift of a life to take a message directly across the river to the lands of the dead, provided no one else is harmed in the process of sacrifice, is quite different from the mindless slaughter of beasts or of unwilling victims, and is not necessarily something to abhor. The writing of the series has been an extraordinary personal odyssey in which almost every aspect of my life has changed, most of it attributable to the deepening dreaming brought about by the Boadicea and all who surround her. I doubt very much if the characters who inhabit my dreaming will choose to leave quietly, and already they are knocking at other doors in other ways. If life and times permit, I will look back first at the prehistory to the series in Alexandria and on Mona, and then forward a little towards Rome in the aftermath of the revolt, and then forward further to the end of Rome in Britain. Those readers who are already familiar with the Arthurian legends will have seen the seeds of something similar threaded through the narrative since the first book of the series. I have no idea where that might lead, but it would be interesting to find out. The wider world has changed in ways far more dramatic than my own. When I began writing Eagle, the new millennium had just begun, full of hope for a different future. Since then, war and natural disasters have plagued the earth. In particular, I have watched the governing powers of my country launch a war against a distant state that, whatever one thinks of its legality, bears remarkable resemblance to the Roman invasion of Britain nearly 2 millennia ago. From the shifting reasons for invasion to the attempt to harness local resources for distant profit, to the failure to imagine insurrection amongst the native population, the invasion of Iraq has, in my view, mirrored the Legion's progress in Britannia. We don't, of course, have to follow the path laid down 2,000 years ago. History does not have to repeat itself unless we choose it. What was that voice? Oh, Kookaburra's here. With a piece of chicken in his beak. He thwacks his chicken. Like all men, but never mind. That was naughty of me. God forgive me. Anyway, where were we? I lost it, that little witticism. Our land may be ruled by the natural inheritors of Rome. They may have spread their influence across the globe with their need to control all that they do not understand. But those of us who dream with and of the land can believe that their grip is beginning to loosen, and that there is hope that a different way of seeing the world might emerge, that we could learn from who we were and so change who we might be. The world would be a different place if Boadicea had won her final battle. She lost, and we live with the consequences. It is too late to go back and remake history. It is not too late to go forward differently. Suffolk, Autumn 2005. And then she adds here, for those interested in the dreaming, the author's website, http://www.mandascott.co.uk, carries details of contemporary dreaming workshops, recommended reading, and other resources. So on that note, we conclude this marvellously written and researched and quite powerful book. Thank you, Amanda Scott, for sharing this with the world. And as a daughter of the Boadicea, not necessarily but by bloodlines, but certainly by defiance and spirit, I honour you and thank you and bless you, and may we all be ennobled and strengthened, and which basically means the same thing, and encouraged and motivated and inspired to continue on, not just with the ancient dreams delivered to us through history and our lineages and through our gods, but to contemporary dreamings as we navigate our way through the ever-changing landscapes of our mind. Goddess bless. Bye for now. Have a beautiful day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the space-time continuum, and write down your dreams, people of Earth. Record them, honour them. They are you speaking to you, and don't worry about what all the bit players think of you and how they judge you. It's your mind and your spirit and your soul, and indeed your becoming. Blessed be from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm.